Hello, welcome everyone to our masterclass today. Starting to see a couple of faces join us.
Yay.
Ah, that's great. Yay, I see some smiling faces. Fantastic. Welcome. Okay, well, we are so excited to have everyone join us today for a masterclass with CS Music. I have a little bit of instructions for the singers that we have signed up today that I'm going to be putting into the chat. I believe we have 3 singers signed up today, and we're excited to have them work with our guest. Today we have Katherine Johnson joining us. And Kate, would you want to introduce yourself to everyone? And again, singers, just check out the chat for some instructions on your settings. And yeah, we'll go from there. Kate?
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to make your acquaintance today and hear your comments, hear you sing, and share my knowledge with you, my experience with you, and please feel free to speak up and ask any questions you want. My career was basically an operatic career. I did a lot of orchestral work too, and concert work. I also did some cabarets of the music of Kurt Weill, and I sang internationally. I was born in Canada, but I moved to New York to go to grad school at Manhattan School of Music many moons ago, and I've been in the New York area ever since. Can't possibly leave this area. I love it. So I now teach in Princeton at Rider University, where I teach also at the Westminster Choir College in Princeton, teach music theater and classical singing. I also have some students who do, now that music theater is getting so pop oriented, I have some experience with that too. So I feel like I'm pretty well rounded in most of these genres now. I don't do rock, but I'm happy to listen to the 3 volunteers today and share any information that springs to mind. So without further ado, let's begin. I hope everybody has, those of you who are singing, I hope you have some kind of a speaker to play your track on, or unless you're singing a cappella, but hopefully you have a track and a speaker and you're all set to go. So who would like to begin? Okay, Alena Carhart. Right?
Hello. I'm just gonna.
So does everybody know how to pin her so you get a full screen of her while she's singing? Okay. Hi, Alena.
Hi. My name's. I'll be singing Durch Seligkeit und Schmeichen by Mozart.
Okay.
Durch Seligkeit und Schmeichen, yes, Seligkeit und Jessel, erobert nun die Herzen der guten Märchenleut, der guten Märchenleut. Märches befehlen und Worten sagen morgen und Worten sagen wecken. Mordosen werden die Tage, so was Joy und Wohl. Mordosen werden die Tage, nicht kalt und scherzen, der Robert und der Herzen, der guten Merken neigt, der guten Merken neigt, doch jürisches Befehlen, ob Pfoten so geklagen, ob Pfoten so geklagen, oh, das Leben nicht sagen, so wäre was Freuen so wäre was Freuen
Good job. How did you feel about that?
I felt pretty good. There was like a few rhythmic things that I could have done better, especially. Yeah. And then I think sometimes I got a little caught up on a few diction things.
Yes. Well said. Yes. So let's talk about language and its importance in singing opera and singing art song and singing in general. Singing is so based on the combination of beautiful melody, beautiful tone, and communication through language, which differentiates it greatly from a clarinet, for instance, or a violin, right? You want beautiful tone, you want beautiful musicianship, but you also want communication through the language. Have you studied German?
No, I have not. I'm taking it next year in the fall and in the spring. And then I was supposed to go to Germany this summer for Music Theater Bavaria, but it got moved to next summer. So I picked this one because I'm the least experienced in German. So I want to get feedback so how I can be better.
Okay, so your German is pretty good, but there are things that really show me that you're not fluent in German. You know? And when you're singing opera, the expectation nowadays is that it sounds absolutely idiomatic, flawless diction. So after you've studied German, you will be able to say durch Zärtlichkeit und Schmeicheln, you know, and it'll be really clear and it won't interfere with your tone quality. So that's something that I would really encourage you to work on. It's really not fair how easily you go up to that high E natural. That's just not fair at all. Struggle so much with that high note. So good for you. I think that this is a good repertoire for you. Eventually you will be able to really sing it with beauty of tone, beauty of musicianship, and beauty of language and communication. One of the things I felt quite strongly about was that your eyes didn't reflect and your body didn't reflect what you were singing about. You know what every word means?
For the most part, yeah. I know that's with tenderness, and I forget what I feel trying. Yeah. I know the idea of it, but sometimes I trip up on what exactly certain words mean.
Right. So I encourage you to get to the point where you know every word you're singing. The German is perfect, and then also you understand exactly what that word means in English, so that even though the word order may be different, you really can be very specific about what you're saying, and that will change the way you communicate, obviously. You know, when we know what we're saying, we communicate in a very different way than when we're just faking it. So there was a little bit of that going on. I also felt that in your body language and your communication, you weren't necessarily supporting your sound correctly all the time. Did you feel like you were getting, I got a little bit of feeling that you were a little bit nervous. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's completely understandable. This is such a sort of weird situation that we're all thrown into. Were you using, where did you get the track to use?
I found it on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I've been using that one.
Yeah. So when I would say this for everyone's benefit, when you're using a track and you don't actually have a pianist in the room, what you need to do is listen to that track a gazillion times so you know exactly what the idiosyncrasies of that specific accompaniment is, because whoever is playing that for you may have some other singer in mind and they're giving you more time or less time or whatever. There is an app called App Compass where you can find tracks for things, and you can actually edit the track, which sometimes is more helpful. But so I thought that you, considering that the track sort of left you hanging and then you came in and had to catch up, I thought you did very well with that, Elena. It's really very tricky. So what I would say to you, honestly, is that you need to be much more specific about what you're singing about. You need to think about the beauty of your musical line more so that you really have a sense of building from phrase to phrase. When you get up to that fioritura and those extreme high notes, there has to be a reason that you're going to those notes, right? So you have to justify your fioritura. And for Blondchen, especially with all those high E's, there's got to be some excitement within her to justify going to that extreme high note. So if you're not really communicating to me what's going on for you emotionally and musically, then those notes are just high notes. And they're pretty, but they have no meaning. And therefore, I think they're less exciting to listen to, and that we feel less, I don't know, moved, I guess I would say, by that flight. That is so easy for you, but it should still feel exciting for the listener, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole intention behind the phrase that takes you up there has to be present, and it can't be present if you don't really know exactly every word that you're singing about. So that would be my basic piece of information for you, is that you just need to study harder and be more specific about, and of course as a young singer, just getting your voice to work beautifully through such a difficult aria is a challenge. But at the same time, music and poetry, which came first? I think you have to always be working for that combination, because oftentimes when we know what we're singing about, we get a different tone quality. We get a different way of breathing. The breath informs the way we sing the phrase because of what we're thinking emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, you know, character-wise. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah. So, this is just like a general question. Like when you learn an opera roll or like an opera scene, like how do you go about doing that? Because I was blonde in the Act 2 finale of the show, and I found that it was like kind of hard for me to like memorize it. Like I was singing it a lot and like practicing speaking it a lot, but how do you go about when you're learning a role for a scene or a show?
Well, I always believed in and encourage my students to write out the lyrics. Write them out until your arm is going to fall off. Because if you don't, you won't really have that language, especially if you don't speak German, for instance. If you don't have that language already in your brain, then writing it out, you'll have the visual, you'll have the kinesthetic of having written it. Say it while you write it. And then as you're studying it, you should have a recording of you singing it with maybe the pianist or your accompanist playing the other parts. And so you can listen to something that doesn't have other people prompting you, so you know exactly where you forget. And then you can also, of course, listen to rehearsal recordings that you have of your colleagues, and you can listen to recordings of, you know, professional groups doing it. But the biggest thing for me was I would sit down at the piano, I would learn the notes, I would learn the rhythms, I would memorize the language, I would put the three together, and I would just keep writing and writing and writing and hearing the melody in my own brain, and then gradually it will come together. It's mostly about repetition, and I would say that if you don't speak a language, it's much harder to memorize. So you want to get on top of your languages. As a classical singer, get on top of your languages as quickly as you possibly can. Okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for singing for us today, Elena. I wish you all the best luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll go back to the gallery view, and who would like to sing next? Emilia. All right. Do you say Emilia or Emily?
Amelia. It's a weird spelling, sorry.
Amelia Bailey. Nice to meet you, Amelia.
Nice to meet you too.
So are you studying singing somewhere?
I study with Gloria Bonin in Maine.
In Maine, all right.
Yeah.
Great. Are you in high school or university or?
I'm 15.
Oh, all right. Wonderful. What would you like to sing today?
Today I will be singing The Sun Whose Rays Are Olive Lace from Gilbert and Sullivan.
Okay, Mikado.
Yep.
Great.
The sun whose rays are all ablaze with ever-living glory does not deny its majesty. He scorns to tell a story. He would exclaim, I blush for shame, so kindly be indulgent. But fierce and bold and fiery gold, he glories all effulgent. I mean to rule the earth as he the sky. We really know the sun and I mean to rule the earth as he the sky. We really know our worth, the sun and I. Observe his flame, a placid day, the moon's celestial highness. There's not a trace upon her face of diffidence or shyness. She burrows late all through the night, let kind behold claim her. And truth to tell, she lights up well, so I for one don't blame her. Ah, pray make no mistake, we are not shy. We're very wide awake, the moon and I. Ah, pray make no mistake, we are not shy. We're very wide awake, the moon and I.
Brava. Oh, what a lovely sound you have.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I loved your interpretation. I think that you really revealed that she's being a little bit tongue-in-cheek and trying to get a little bit even with the Mikado.
Oh,
There you go.
it froze on my side, sorry.
Yeah, I noticed that. Did you hear what I said?
Not really, sorry.
Okay, let me take two. I loved your interpretation because I felt that you understand that she's really poking a little bit of fun at the Mikado and saying, you may think you're the sun, and the, you know, in Japan, the sun is like the sun king is the ruler and all this stuff. And it's a spoof on that because she considers herself the moon, and without the moon, the sun has nothing to do all night long. So she's equally important. So I got that. I got your tongue-in-cheek thing. I thought your tone was absolutely lovely top to bottom. And your diction was really excellent.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. You're being very well trained.
Thank you.
So, Amelia, I would say that I would take a teensy bit more care in the note values. There, you know, because it's Japanese and it's all sort of very polite and precise, and it's a spoof. Those, I think that you took a little more liberty, like for instance, da 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 da. If you do, ba 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 bum ba 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 bum ba 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 bum ba bum. That's not actually what's on the page, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's really very even, and I love that you stretch some notes. I think there is room for that. But I think when you do it as much as you did, you lose a little bit of that precision that you could imagine a young woman in a kimono and those little wooden sandals and everything, that little trot, 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 trot. There's something about that is very Asian or Japanese in my mind. Da, 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 dee, da, bum. And there's something about that restraint rhythmically that makes, for me, it feel a little bit even more naughty, tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
A little bit more like you're pushing at him a little bit more. If it's really precise, there's just no room for you to be criticized. But if you're being very sort of flippant and gay and sort of dotting the rhythms here and there and everywhere, then we lose a little bit of that cautious restraint that she's exhibiting, which makes, I think, a little bit more character.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Why don't you try a phrase again and see if you can just sing it with a little bit more exactitude.
Okay.
Okay?
With the accompaniment?
Sure.
Oh, wrong song.
For an encore.
The sun whose rays are all ablaze with ever-living glory does not deny its majesty, it scorns to tell a story.
Okay, so let's try it this way. If you do, the sun whose rays are all ablaze with ever-living glory does not deny his majesty. So really, really even, but still lean into the important syllable. So I want it really even.
Okay.
What you can do with that.
The sun whose rays are all ablaze with ever-living glory does not deny his majesty, he scorns to tell a story. He would exclaim, I blush for shame, so kindly be indulgent, but fierce and bold and fiery cold, he glories all effulgent.
Okay, Amelia, so how did that feel?
That felt a lot more within the song and precise.
Right, exactly. So then you have to go from that and see if you can find a way to still have the twinkle in your eye and know where you want to lean onto a syllable without necessarily changing the rhythm.
Okay.
Right? So say those words for me from the beginning.
In the rhythm?
Yeah. Well, monologue them as much as you can in the rhythm and see if you can add the stress that you want to the important syllable without losing your rhythm that's on the page.
Okay. The sun whose rays are all ablaze in ever-living glory does not deny his majesty, he scorns to tell a story.
Okay,
He won't explain.
Good. So the sun whose rays are all ablaze with ever-living glory does not deny his majesty. He what is it? He feigns to tell a story?
Scorns to tell a story. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Does not deny his majesty. He scorns to tell a story. Right? There's something very direct about that. Try it again.
The sun whose rays are all ablaze in ever-living glory does not deny his majesty. He scorns to tell a story.
Okay, now sing that and see if you can find that kind of, you're being more selective on the words or the syllables that you choose to emphasize. So it's easier. It's a good example of how if everyone, if I were to emphasize every single syllable that I think is important, you hear how difficult it is to really understand what I'm trying to say? Because every syllable is getting equal stress. So I want you to find that line and stress just the most important ones. Okay? Try it again.
The sun whose rays are all ablaze with ever-living glory does not deny his majesty, he scorns to tell a story. He will exclaim, I blush for shame, so kindly be indulgent. But fierce and bold and fiery gold, he glories all effulgent.
There you go. That's much better. So now I'm getting the rhymes that are so cleverly set up by the composer and librettist. And I'm also getting the emotional journey that she's tiptoeing on so that she doesn't enrage the Mikado, but she also shows him that she thinks she's equally important, which I think is pretty funny. How did that feel?
That felt a lot better. It felt a lot more in character, and it had more differentiation, you know, between them.
Yeah, so I think that if you sit down again and look at the rhythms on the page and then give yourself license to lean into the odd syllable in each phrase, maybe one or two, but not more than that, not like every third word, okay?
Yeah.
Because then we lose a sense of line, and also the fact that she's really sort of walking on eggshells here. She could be, you know, decapitated at any turn. I mean, spoof-wise in Mikado, but, you know, there's people running around with these great swords and everything. So, you know, she's playing into that spoof. Are you planning on going on to study music seriously?
I would like to go to college for vocal performance. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that's a good plan for you. You have a particularly lovely sound, and you have a beautiful line, and I love that there's vibrato in your sound. So I want everybody to notice how when somebody's singing in English, which is the language they speak fluently, it's a lot easier to actually commit to what the words mean, right? And when you start singing in a foreign language, it's so much more challenging to feel the same kind of freedom to express, because we're just not as familiar, and that's why language study is so important. Well, thank you so much for singing for me today, Amelia.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciated this.
You're very welcome. Congrats to your teacher. Okay, so who else is going to sing today? Martina.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Martina.
You can hear me, right?
Yes, let me pin you.
So, I have two pieces, but I was thinking maybe I can do a Dvořák, art song that I would like to record, and it's from the cycle in the folk tone.
Okay.
And I have a recording from my pianist, but the last page he totally messed up, so I'm gonna have to stop it before the last like few measures, but otherwise I can sing the whole thing. Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So we've been speaking about language, and are you familiar with Czech, Martina?
Yes, I'm from Czech Republic. So I was born in Czech, and I've been in the United States for a long time. I'm a US citizen, but I'm a Czech citizen as well.
Okay.
So it's my mother language. So
yeah, so that's, I just want people to notice that, because I've always been very committed to language and the interpretation of and using text rather than just singing a beautiful musical line with a beautiful tone. And there are times when we really have to focus on that, like the big fioritura scenes and some of the big bel canto things, you know. But even then, Maria Callas was the first one to say, if the fioritura doesn't mean anything, then it's boring. So she would always find a motivation. So this will be fun to hear you sing in Czech and know that you know what you're singing about. Would you mind telling us what the song is about?
It's actually a love song, and it's I'm saying I'm so sorry that the person who I love is not here. And there's a verse that I'm saying that they are pushing a widower on me. So I'm guessing the young girl is trying to marry her love, but I guess her parents, somebody's pushing a widower on her, and she's saying, I can't marry him because he has only a half of his heart is gone, right? Because he lost his wife. And so again, at the end, I'm saying, I am so sad that the love of my love is not here.
Okay, this is going to be sad.
Yes, I'll try my best. Let's see. Oh. Oh, come on. I'm sorry. There we go. I don't know why it's not working. Let's see again.
Are you playing it on your phone?
Yeah, yes. Through my speaker, so you can hear a little bit.
Nice work. All right, so in spite of a little bit of distraction with your track and everything,
sorry.
I thought that you projected a beautiful emotional statement that was very specific. Okay. I think specific is very important. Classical singing has become more like music theater in the sense that people expect good acting nowadays. In the olden days, I think, in the 20s and 30s, you can look at wonderful videos and recordings of beautiful singing where people really just stood still. And I don't have a problem at all with people standing still, as long as they really know what they're singing about. But a lot of times with the movie versions of operas and things that they're doing, they want a singer to be able to move and act and look almost like a movie star, which I think sometimes is asking a bit too much of a singer. But so Martina, I would say that your connection, even though you know exactly what you were singing about, kind of came and went.
Okay.
And I think it was partly because of the track, and you were a little bit concerned about stopping it at the right time.
Yeah.
But I also felt through this medium of video, I think it's really important, and especially for more experienced singers, to really understand how to use the medium. If you're making a video of yourself singing in a concert hall with a grand piano and it's taken from a perspective where we see your whole body, that's one thing. But in this instance, and I think a lot of you young singers are going to have to submit videos for competitions, for schools, and for consideration in a variety of different formats, right? I think you need to know how to use the camera a little bit better on your equipment. So I would love for you to maybe, for instance, where you're standing now, I get a better...
Was I too far?
I think you're a little bit too far away.
Okay. I was trying to be 5 to 6 feet, so maybe I just went too far.
Maybe so. And also you were turning to your left a lot.
Okay.
What were you looking at over there?
I just had my phone and my iPad there, so I was just, because I was trying to, I really was focusing on when I have to stop it. So, but I know I do, if I sing and if there is a piano part, sometimes I kind of check out.
Yeah.
Right. And I do that even with other arias, that I need to keep thinking my character, like keep doing, you know, like keep thinking, not, okay, piano is having 3 measures and I can take a break. So I know I do that a lot, or, you know, sometimes if I don't pay attention to myself.
Yes. I think this is a really interesting journey we've taken today, because with Elena, I felt with her lack of experience, she was more engaged when she was singing rather than through the whole event, through the interludes. For Amelia, because she was singing in English, and there were hardly any interludes in that song. You really have to be on top of your game all the way through. So there's not that much opportunity to be distracted or to drop character. But for you, with a more experienced concert career, I would like you to be more focused consistently through the whole thing. So I think we have time. Would you mind doing it again? And would you think a little bit more about presenting to the camera, and wherever you have to turn the track off, can you just quickly do it?
Yeah.
And don't look at your iPad. Just,
okay.
I want you to keep your eyes open.
Okay.
One thing I would say is that I would like you to, with that beautiful language that it's very consonant-driven language, I want you to think a little bit more about singing through your vowels. Sing your vowels. I want a longer line. You had beautiful breath management, by the way, Martina. Beautiful.
It was. I feel like I had no breath.
Well, isn't that interesting how we all...
Yes. I felt like I totally forgot to breathe. So okay.
Maybe you want to get more into your body and find your breath. So you can ride your vowels on that beautiful stream of breath that...
Okay. Okay, I'll try again.
In many of the phrases.
Okay. So is this far enough? Is that okay?
Yes, I think that's good.
Okay.
Okay, Martina, that was better.
Okay.
Now I would like you to play the introduction again, and I want you to imagine that introduction is the sound of your thoughts, your heart, your longing, maybe this a vision of this man that you love that you long for, so that it's not introduction and now I communicate. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Especially for the younger singers, this is so important. You're totally capable of this, of really letting the introduction be a part of the communication. Okay?
Okay. Ach, není tu, co by mě těšilo. Ach, není tu, není, co mě těší. Co mě těšívalo, vodou plynulo. Ach, není tu, není, co mě těší. Vždycky mě dávají, co se mně nelíbí. Vždycky mě dávají, co já nechci. Dávají mne vdovce, ten má jen půl srdce. Ach, není tu, není, co mě těší. Ach, není tu, co by mě těšilo. Ach, není tu, co mě těší. Ach, není tu, co mě těší.
All right. What a difference. Does everybody notice the difference in that? That was just night and day, honestly, Martina.
I could focus more.
Yes, that was so moving. And you know, when you began after the introduction, it seemed like you had to begin to make sound. Something was building in you instead of I'm waiting for my entrance. You know, which quite boring for the audience.
Okay, so that was better at the beginning.
Yeah, we want to be drawn in from the very first note. That first note has to come from your inner life. And you know, when they talk about leader, they always talk about how the piano and the voice are a team. I would venture to say that I feel that way about all accompanied vocalism, that the accompaniment and the vocal line have to be a team, and that you have to speak. It's a conversation, whether it's an orchestra or one violin or whatever it is. That was really, really beautiful.
I know it helps me, like when I have an interlude or the beginning, I try to think like I'm singing already.
Yes.
So if I think it, and you know, I have to make myself, I think, okay, I'm starting to sing where the piano comes in, not just wait until I come in. So that's what I was trying to do. I felt like I was already singing.
Well, you made that clear to us.
Okay.
That the piano introduction was part of your thought, your emotional life, your inner life.
Okay.
And that made a huge difference in my opinion.
Okay.
And as a result of that, the whole song felt like one journey. And you had an arc, you had a goal, and you got there by the end of it. So it was really, really well done.
Okay, thank you.
Did everybody notice the difference in that? Yeah, I thought it was quite dramatic. I'm seeing a lot of names, but not too many faces, so I'm not getting a lot of feedback here. But yes, there's a thumbs up from Margaret. All right. So we have a few minutes left, and I would love to have a volunteer if anybody is interested in singing. Anybody else interested?
Hi, I'm interested.
Okay.
My hair isn't combed. My name is Latoya Faulkner. So that's why I don't have my picture on. But I've been singing. I've been out of school for a very long time, but I'm finally in my part of my career where I want to kind of go forward again. Had a lot of no's, so it kind of distracts you. And I'm a parent, so I am a soprano. And one of my favorite songs to sing is, I'm trying to think of my favorite. Darn it! Now I'm nervous. I would like to sing the Offenbach doll aria.
All right. Do you have a track, Latoya?
I do not. Do I need a track?
No, you don't need a track. If you can, do you have a keyboard?
Nothing near me. I'm just sitting here. I joined the class because I just wanted to see the advice that you were giving everyone. So I just thought it was just like a watching, experience.
Do you want me to give you a starting pitch? Do you know what the starting pitch is?
Yeah, you can give me one.
What is the starting pitch for this? Les oiseaux.
Les oiseaux.
It starts on a. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's do it.
Okay. Les oiseaux jouent jamais. Les yeux chanter. Oh shoot. I'm super nervous. The one opportunity I have.
Hey, Latoya.
Yes.
Why don't we, I don't know, there may be another opportunity. I would rather that you present yourself well.
Yes, thank you.
You obviously have a beautiful voice, but I think jumping in like this is not going to make you feel good about yourself.
Thank you so much. I do apologize, but I really wanted to go for it. So
I absolutely understand that desire, and obviously you're a singer. I'm not singing for people. And so
yeah, I do.
I think that singing in an unprepared way is going to make you feel like, oh shoot, why did I do that? Now I really feel like I didn't present who I am. And so I don't want you to do that to yourself.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. I'm so sorry.
No, please don't apologize. I would love to hear you again.
Thank you.
Yes. Is there anyone else that would like to sing? I don't see any takers. All right, so are there any questions? Brianna, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just have a couple questions. I'm having a hard time. What helps you get into character, especially when it's something that you can't relate to?
I would say that generally, can you be more specific? Like, is there a specific character you're struggling with?
Susanna from the song De Vieni.
Okay. So there has to be, I would say, almost in every young woman, aspects of characters in all the characters in opera. Most of them are really kind of almost archetypal energy or experiences. So what is De Vieni about?
She's teasing her husband.
Her soon-to-be husband.
Yes, soon-to-be husband, because she's dressed as the Countess.
Right, and what's she teasing him about?
Because he thinks that she's going after the Count, right? And so she's teasing her husband like, no, like I'm like playing with him and his emotions.
Right. So have you ever flirted with somebody to make somebody else jealous?
I have not. But that's a good aspect to think about.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be something you've actually done. Like, for instance, I sang Tosca, but I've never stabbed anybody.
No. Okay, yeah.
You know, but you can feel the emotional energy behind that. And you don't have to be, I don't think Susanna is a bad girl. In fact, this whole plot has to do with really saving her from being taken advantage of by the Count, right?
Right.
So she's really poking fun at her fiance because she thinks it's so silly that he's jealous. Because she knows how much she loves him, and she really knows that he loves her. So I think that there's more to her being a bit of a prankster.
Yeah. Yeah.
You like to play pranks?
I would say that. Like, yeah, sure.
What you want to do when you're learning a character is to really understand the whole setup around how that character interacts in the full scheme of things, and understand what their job is. And each character in a musical or an opera has a specific job to help move the story forward. And in that scene in De Vieni non tardar, she's really encouraging him to come and not be timid. And she knows him well enough to know that he's just furious and blustering and stomping his feet around and behaving like a silly, jealous boyfriend. And so she's taking a lot of pleasure in this. She realizes when he finds out what's really going on, he was one of the instigators of the whole plot, for heaven's sakes.
Right, yeah, right, yes.
So he's just being a silly boy, and he doesn't really realize that he's gotten himself to a point of emotional entanglement that is not necessary. So she's kind of enjoying that and sort of playing the upper hand in a way. You know, so I think that there are times and ways of finding your way into a character. If you look at your own life, your own experiences, you can look at the situation and find a parallel somewhere in your life, or the life of a girlfriend, or a story that your aunt told you, or something about something that happened. And that's what storytelling is all about, you know, and listening to other people's stories, conversation. And we're all so deprived of that right now, sitting around and just talking to each other. And sometimes it doesn't even have a goal, but in chatting, we learn from each other. We learn from each other's experiences. So if you plumb the depths of the experiences you've had with your friends and, you know, people you've heard tell of, even, you know, true stories, you can find a parallel that will allow you into there. And you can find emotions like, I'm a trickster, I'm very loving, I am a little bit enjoying the fact that he's jealous, you know, take some pride in how well you're pulling this off, that you're making him jealous. There are all these different aspects that you can pull into. And then you want to look at the quality of the music that is part of De Vieni non tardar. And there's such a very clear expression of love and tenderness in the melody. Mm-hmm. The whole scene setting in the melody. And that too will guide you to bring the lyrics and the melody together to make a communication that gives Mr. Mozart his vehicle. You become his vehicle through which those thoughts are communicated to the listener. So it doesn't have to be anything you've actually done, but aspects of it are all things you've experienced in one way or another. And oftentimes I'll say to a young actor, I don't care whether you're thinking about patting your dog and you're supposed to be in your imagination having an affectionate scene with a partner. But if you've never done that, if that is like something that isn't tangible for you, then find something that is tangible. I don't know that you're thinking about your puppy, but I know you're thinking about love and that you're being tender. And it doesn't matter the object then, does it?
No, well.
Is that helpful?
Very helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Does anybody else have any questions? Yes,
Yeah.
Meredith.
That.
I have kind of an opposite situation from Britannia. I'm singing Orpheus and his lute, and it comes from Shakespeare's Henry VIII. Now, I'm singing the song totally out of context of the play itself. And it's probably, first I learned the song, and then I read the play again to see where it came from. And it's probably one of the very few highlights of that whole play, but I'm singing the song out of context of the play. So the song is about springtime and hope, and to me it's like a rejuvenation. Would I sing the song the way I'm interpreting that particular song, or would I try to build in this character of Catherine of Aragon that's going through so much trauma, and this is like one brief respite of her trauma?
And where are you singing it?
I'm singing it for a recital, with my voice lesson class. We're all doing a recital at the end of the term.
Oh, that's a really interesting experience. So, you know, I think you could do it either way, but I think in the moment, that moment of respite is to draw all the listeners out of that moment of agony and into something that projects hope and a future.
Okay, right.
What spring, of course, always represents for each of us is that rebirth, that the beauty, you know, the beauty of life, and life springs out at us, pun intended. And so in that moment, I think you could just bring us all, and especially at this time, we all need something that is giving us hope, don't we?
Yes.
So
yes.
I personally might, I might talk to the audience and say exactly what you said, that this song is extracted from a play, and it's from a moment in the play where it's a very dark moment.
Yeah. Right.
In that darkness, there is light revealed. There is the hope of life. And so you could put it in that context and then give it your all in making the liveliness, the beauty, and the joy of that moment really come to life. And so we all feel, yes, there is hope.
Thank you. That's a great approach. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I'm always a big proponent of speaking to the audience and speaking to the truth that you find in your material. So if you want to say, this is a very dark scene, and even though the words seem happy, I want to go with the darkness of it right now, and let's see how that goes. And sometimes in a recital, I might even say, okay, now I'm going to try it a different way. And then you can have an interactive audience say, you know, even in the days before we had Zoom and, you know, voting and all this stuff, you could let the audience explore that double-edged sword of, is this just a happy song, or does the happiness really put into contrast the depths of despair for Catherine of Aragon? Or is it really very dark the way I'm singing it, you know? So you can make people think and bring them, I think, bring them to a new place of being, take them out of their worries. I think that's our job as artists, especially right now. Our jobs as artists is to bring people into a new way of relating to reality so that they can leave their pain, leave their fears, leave their suffering. Even for 3 minutes of one song, it helps. You know, every artist has to rise to the challenge and help us heal. All right. Oh, there's LaToya. Hi.
Kate,
Nice to see you, my dear.
Hey, Kate, just so you know, LaToya, if she has a question, that's great. But after her, we do have several that have been come up in the chat. So if you want to take a look at that also, just thought I'd put that out for you.
Thank you. All right, so I'll look at these questions. So we'll start at the bottom, I guess. Oh, she wants to thank me. That's very nice. Can you talk about repertoire, how we choose it appropriately? This is from Madison Falkenstein. Repertoire. Well, I've always felt that I had a certain instinct for repertoire in terms of the character spoke to me or the lyrics spoke to me. I think in the situation of a recital, you can sing pretty much anything if you can manage to sing the notes in a way that feels it's serving the composer. I wouldn't say that's true in terms of opera. I think in opera, there's something you have to take into account: the size of the orchestra, the size of your voice, sometimes the size of the venue. The houses in Europe are much smaller than they are in America, so you can sing sometimes a bigger part there, or what would be considered a more dramatic part in a smaller house. But mostly I think repertoire is something that if the poetry and the melody speaks to you, then go for it and see how it feels. And if it feels like you can serve the composer, which is your task, serve the librettist, and offer yourself up to that, then I would recommend that you do it. I even think that sometimes there's something to be learned by singing some of the male repertoire, actually, because you can learn something vocally about, you know, the male-female dichotomy and all those things. You can learn from that as well. Was that helpful, Madison? Okay, so this is from Luce. How should we think the French vowels in a chanson like Aclorie? Ah, this is a good question. So for me, singing in French and being Canadian, I grew up speaking a good deal of French, even though I grew up in the English-speaking part of Canada. So singing in French is very tricky because everybody talks about the nasal vowels. And the nasal vowels can really shut off your tone. So for me, I always sang French with the feeling that I was singing Italian with a slightly dropped soft palate. Just slightly, but not the true, non, je ne veux pas. I don't know how many of you have noticed this, but in general, there are very few famous French sopranos. There are a lot of famous French mezzo-sopranos, but there are very few famous French sopranos. And I think, personally, the reason for that is that when they speak French perfectly and beautifully, the soft palate is very low, and that really can inhibit the high voice. So I think the good French sopranos sing their vowels more Italianate, especially as they ascend in the scale. So I would definitely aim towards a more Italianate sound and just a little color on the lower pitches of nasality, but nothing extreme. Is that helpful, Luce? Okay, let me see. Yes, I like this compliment to Martina, beautiful in Czech. And Jia Chen, I'd like to sing. Well, I'm afraid we're out of time. So maybe we can do this again. And we could have more people be prepared to sing, because I'm enjoying this tremendously. And LaToya, you're up next time. All right, so Mary, that's about it, right?
Yes, I don't see any other questions at this time. So this has been fantastic, Kate. I think everyone has really enjoyed it, and we've had a lot of wonderful new thoughts to consider. And hopefully the singers feel like I'm sure they feel like they got quite a lot out of that. So thank you so much for sharing your time with us today.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure. I do think that each of us who has the privilege of having studied with great teachers, it's our journey to just pass that knowledge on. So whatever, I don't claim to own any of this knowledge. I'm sharing what I've had the privilege of learning along the way. And the joy of singing is something that we all need to do. We'll just keep your choral singing is going to be a bit inhibited right now, but privately, sing your hearts out, ladies and gentlemen, because we really need that joy on this planet. We really do.
I completely agree. Yes, thank you. And I've got a lot of thank yous going on in the chat right now, so hopefully you see that as well. So thank you everyone for joining us. Just want to make sure to remind you that we are going to be having our online convention coming up. I did put a link in the chat that you can go to take a look at our convention classes, and hopefully some of you will be able to join us there. So thanks again, Kate. You were wonderful, and you all have a safe and healthy day. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Best to everyone. Thank you.